Chapter 6. A Drunken Crybaby and a Broken-Hearted Man. Our Seafood Restaurant. Cheers! The group of sun-kissed skinned solid studs raised their glasses to clink on each other. It was so loud that it drew the client's attention from other tables to look their way with interest. Yes, it definitely would, because this table was full of virile men with faces that were far from being called unlikable, rather smart and masculine, and teasing many eyes of girls and women to all go in their direction. On the other hand, these men themselves made their sparkling eyes to all in return, except those who were in the already taken status, Yai and Paya, and those who couldn't care less about anything else but eating, like Tarn, Kem, and Singh. Haven't you guys ever eaten prawns before in your life? Yai snapped once he saw these hungry trios sit down and shove prawns nonstop right after toasting. I have, but I haven't had it for a long time. So today, I want a big, happy meal. Singh looked up and answered, right, and it's free, Cam added. Word! Tarn threw himself into the mix. Yai shook his head disdainfully before turning to their treat giver, who was sipping beer next to him. Yai couldn't help asking with concern, are you sure that you can treat us all? Estimated from this triplet, not to mention those booze crusaders, only tanked up booze, they would rip you off like 10,000. Take it all on me, PI. Don't sweat it. But Paya remained indifferent while answering with his hands tapping on the phone. Yai lifted his glass of beer to sip, looked at Daddy Paya's chilling manner, and couldn't hold back the jealousy. So, is this the rich man's way of life? How cool is that? But that is what it is. They were born rich. They may have been there, done that for a meal costing 10 grand before. Singh picked up the phone. Hello. Ah, you arrived? Okay, okay. I'll escort you here. Who? Singh? Kem lifted his gaze to question. It's Mr. Chart. Singh replied contentedly before leaping up on his feet and leaving. Kem made eye contact with Yai, Tarn, and Paya and started to side talk. I think those two have something undercovered. It's all in your head, said Thong Tai, sipping beer. They take care of each other so freaking well, uttered Kem. No friends ever take care of each other to this level. Rumor has it that it's Singh who found a doctor for Chart too. Even if they do, what does it do to you, Kem? Just keep calm and munch your prawn, you bastard. Always nonsensically pairing off who with whom. Hissed Yai while pushing a plate of grilled prawn towards Kim. But Tarn's hand snatched that prawn earlier, causing Cam to give Tarn a death glare. Yet he didn't say anything but hurried to seize the other prawns to eat before Tarn would purge all of them. Haya was responding to messages from his foreign mates one by one, messages they'd sent while he was engaged in training. He'd been close with these friends since his French high school days and stayed in contact to keep their friendship alive. What are you doing? Tarn poked Paya and asked, You don't eat? Paya lifted his gaze up to Tarn. Go ahead. I'm replying to my friend's emails. Nodded in acknowledgement. Tarn dropped a peeled prawn on Paya's plate. Paya took a glance at it, looking at Tarn questioningly. Daddy treats us, so Daddy should have a spare too. If you don't do it now, don't expect to have ones saved up for you later, Daddy. Paya emitted a gentle smile, closed the emails, and slid his phone back into his pocket. He picked that prawn and dipped it in the sauce before lodging it into his mouth, munching and swallowing down his throat. Good job, babe. Yai choked on beer all of a sudden once hearing the word babe escape from Paya's lips. The big, tall guy coughed so violently that his chest flapped. Tarn handed a glass of water to his brother, who spluttered until the face turned vibrant sunset red. Damn! Chill out, Pi. Beer wouldn't run out that easily. Why so hurrying? You greedy gods. Tarn shook his head while stroking Yai's back at the same time. Paya looked at Yai and Tarn, then smirked, knowing why Yai choked on the beer. He might have misinterpreted his word babe, or either didn't expect him to tease Tarn back. Kem's jaw dropped as he caught Paya smirking, tingling the downy hair on his nape. Shit, those eyes were full of mischief. Kem swallowed hard and averted the tongue tie beside him, who spent time sipping the booze and talking to no one in silence. Then, whom was he to speak to? Yo, what's up, you guys? Greetings from Chart. Now that everyone saw him limping with Singh supporting him closely, they all rushed in to assist by hoisting Chart up and placing him on the chair, not forgetting to dust off the chair cushion for him too. You fucking jerks! Chart yelled with a flushed, deep face. The crowd is watching. Have you got no shame at all? Everyone was in a good, pleasant laugh when they could tease a sick man and he couldn't even do it back due to his fractured leg. Chart fervently grunted, giving a fatal glare to all before grabbing some beer for the gulf and casting a glance to Paya, Yai, Kem, Tong Thai, Tarn, and Sing at the table head. I'm really happy for you guys. He literally was, even if it was with a hint of jealousy too, but it still came in a bundle of happiness. Okay, rest up and fully recover soon, said Tarn. Chart dipped his head in acknowledgement and placed his glass on the table. If only I had believed you back then, things would have been better. I wouldn't have arrogantly strayed in without watching carefully like that. Otherwise, he would have gone further and seen way more facts. Tarn was at a loss for words once he saw Chart unveil his depressed expression. The lighting of him lying on the rock pile, with hands holding his legs, struck right into Tarn's thoughts again. It was obvious that Chart was distressed. We knew all too well that he had skills. He just stumbled upon an uninvited adversity. Tarn thought. If he had seen what exactly was coming, he could have been a greater help to Chart. Catching downcast expressions from both Tarn and Chart, Haya said to Coverall, You've done the best you could. Don't let it consume you too much. Yeah, yeah. Today's the day of celebration. Don't make a droopy face, said Kem in a cheery voice. Come on, come on. Let's toast one more time. Kem entertained the peers, and they all resumed merry toasting again as per invitation. The looming atmosphere subsided and was replaced by the joy of everyone once again. 5 hours later. You guys want to play spinning bottle? Invited Kem with a slurred voice, trying to lift his face upturned, but finally lying face down on a table just a second later. Enough, Kem, you jerk. It's getting late now. Restrained Yai while slipping the booze bottle out of Kem's hand. Yai, toilet! I'm going to toilet! Tarn brought his face upward to bubble. Yai wanted to knock his head on the table. Who the heck gave booze to Tarn? As Yai was about to get to his little brother, Haya had already approached Tarn. I'll take him there, volunteered Paya, stretching his arm to grasp Tarn, who was sitting on a chair with mouth wrenching. Paya tried to stand Tarn up, but Tarn's body was swaying and about to fall, so he looped Tarn's arm around his neck instead, with the other hand wrapped around Tarn's waist. Are you sure you can handle him? Tarn got drunk and always turned into a crying mess. Shit, is there anybody else like him? Haya nodded in affirmation before taking the hammered man to the toilet. Yai's eyes followed both of them with concern, but managed to suppress himself. He assisted Chart and Singh in lifting the flesh of Kem and Tong Tai, as well as the others supported all the hammered men to the car. Haya took Tarn to the toilet and grasped a wasted man who kept babbling nonsense to stand upright at the urinal. You're there. You can pee now. Tarn gave a curt nod and stood still. It didn't come out. Tarn tightened his brows and moaned. He turned to Paya, asking for help. Didn't come out. Paya lowered his gaze to Tarn's trousers and sighed. Tarn, why didn't you unzip? Tarn cracked a smile and chuckled in his throat. Right. Paya shook his head to Tarn, wasted and went bonkers AF. Oop, done, the drunkard said. My hands are dirty. Tarn stretched both hands toward Paya's face, causing Paya to shrink back in a frown. Then, Paya took Tarn's hand to the sink. Tarn giggled in pleasure at being doted on, amusingly squinting at Paya with half-closed eyes. Watching Paya furrow his forehead, Paya ran the water and applied the liquid soap onto Tarn's hands. However, Tarn's hands remained unmoved as he dwelled on how the tall figure cared for him with a vacant expression. So Paya had to take charge of scrubbing Tarn's hands himself. What are you laughing for? Paya faced upward to the drunken man. Daddy scrubbed my hands. The drunken man bubbled. Paya shook his head and glanced upward to smile at Tarn tiringly. You're totally childish when you're drunk. He didn't want to scrub Tarn's hand at first, but happened to press the liquid soap to his own hand, so Paya chose to go with the flow. If he let Tarn do it himself, it would take forever. Not childish. Tarn's not childish, Tarn said while wringing his mouth. Both eyes welled up with tears as if he was going to cry. Kay, not childish. I'm joking. Don't you cry, please. Good. You must obey. Tap tapped on that steely shoulder. Kaya frowned, wanted to laugh but couldn't. Hurriedly nursed a zonked man who couldn't even wipe his own ass. Then dried those hands off for him, just like nursing a kid. Let's go. Kaya tossed tissue paper in a trash can, switched back to support Tarn, and walked out of the toilet. Stop! Stop there! Tarn halted abruptly. His eyes opened a little wider, causing Paya to freeze mid-stride. Paya looked at the one in his arms in bafflement. Tarn twirled around to Paya, flashed a sweet smile to the tall figure before hopping on his tiptoe, leaned forward and planted a kiss on that rough cheek. The slightly taller one was petrified, with a heart fervently wavered when the moist, soft, steamy lips landed on the cheek. Reward to Daddy! Tarn drew back and quirked an amiable beam to Paya. Paya's eyes flung open in disbelief at what he had just seen. Tarn pecked a kiss on him. The gaze automatically lowered to that talky, petite lips fixated on it for so long, then hastily fluttered his wild notion in the speed of light, made up a straight face as he brought Tarn out of the restaurant. Seeing Yai was waiting, so he strode toward Yai. Doc wasn't here yet? Dr. Shalatorn said he would pick Tarn and Yai up after the party. Nope. How is Tarn though? Yai asked while taking Tarn's disheveled body to handle on his own. Pretty bad, answered Paya in a detached voice. The memories of how Tarn leaned forward to smack a kiss whipped across the heart, causing Paya not to know which expression to wear for a moment. Yai noticed Paya's demeanor and switched back to the one in his arms. Supposedly, Tarn might have done something crazy to Paya. It's always like this every time he's got drunk. Paya nodded.
If Doc didn't come, may I drop you both?
Yai lifted his wristwatch and saw that it had passed the meeting time for quite some time already, so he gave a nod of approval to Paya. During the time they were on their way to the car, the intoxicated man suddenly lifted his face as if he wanted to puke, so Yai took him to do it by a roadside tree. Tarn looked up and glanced over to the surroundings in a daze. Once his blurry sight captured Paya, who was going to walk away, Tarn burst out crying and sprang up on his feet to walk toward Paya. But Pi held him back. Paya! Pius looked back and saw Tarn standing, watching him with a sight of despair. So Paya made his return. Yai said, "He is getting the car. You wait here." Tarn twisted his mouth, letting tears roll down his face. Yai beat his forehead with his own palm. There, Tarn started it again. "Don't you cry." Got drunk and always acted like this. That's why I don't want him to hit a bottle.
Why is he crying, Pi?
Kaya rushed back. Tarn reached out toward him, promptly dashed into his hold, and started snuggling right away, causing Paya to be flabbergasted and dumbstruck. Realistically speaking, Tarn in this mode got him totally stumped. Yai displayed an awkward smile.
He may not want to be apart from you. Give me your key then. I'll get your car.
Paya handed Yai his car key and simultaneously supported the hammered man to not stagger and slither onto the road surface. Yai took that key and rushed to take the car before Tarn could create a further mess. Paya!
Yeah, I'm here.
Tarn's sleepy. Not only telling, but Tarn also clinging his face to Paya's shoulder nonstop. A smile slipped past Pius' control as he endearingly watched the one in his embrace with a head plotting how to handle the zonker.
Just wait until you get to the room.
Who's wrong? Paya furrowed his brows.
My room. As if. Shit. Straighten up or you'll stumble.
Paya held onto the wasted man's waist tightly as he wriggled, looking over the shoulder and anxiously searching for Pi. When will he come back? Tarn drew back from that gripped shoulder. Go to Paya's room! Tarn's pleasant laugh escaped. Suddenly, his expression flashed an instant recall. Arrived. I'll sleep now. Tarn did not only say that, he sat down on the road surface right away. Kaya rushed to stand that slim figure up and hold him by the waist.
Arrived? My ass.
Kaya shrieked harshly, locking up the drunken guy's waist even tighter. Sleepy. Kaya looked at the zonked man, baffled, not knowing how to get a grip with that sobster manner, only living in the high hope that Pi would drive to get them soon. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Whining with the feet stomping before giving Paya a yearning look. Paya, cradle me.
Huh?
Cradle me, cradle me. You goddamn PI, come here now. Seeing Paya remain motionless, not to cradle him, Tarn wrenched his mouth to cry. Paya! Paya exhaled a heavy sigh with his eyes examining Tarn from head to toe. They both thinned very much in terms of body size. Even though Paya was taller and had broader shoulders, the difference was only minor. How could he cradle Tarn? After frowning in deep thought for so long, Paya flipped and turned his back to Tarn.
I'll give you a piggy then.
Yay! Grab. Paya's leg gave out all of a sudden once all the heavy weight was thrown on him and held onto his neck tightly. Paya gritted his teeth and propped up, swayed a little, but still managed to stand tall without falling. Damn it. Tarn was nowhere near what one would call light-bodied. Sleep. The babbling voice came next to Pius' ear. His left shoulder grew heavier, and the hot air constantly blew right beside him, indicating that the one on his back had already fallen into a peaceful slumber. Haya let out a weary sigh, but exuded a faint smile shortly after.
So childish.
Haya softly murmured. Giving Tarn a shoulder ride for less than 2 minutes, Yai drove out and pulled over in front of them. The big guy rolled down the car window. Sorry I'm late. There was a car hindering. Aya nodded in acknowledgement, swiftly placing the snooze-off trunker in the back seat. Yai hurriedly got out of the car and helped Paya. The moment he could accomplish it, Paya let out a long sigh.
Pretty hard task, isn't it?
Said Yai in a considerate tone. Paya tipped his head in agreement, then told Yai to drive to Dr. Charlotte Thorne's house, leaving the responsibility of caring for the drunken man to himself. After dropping off Yai and Tarn, Paya drove back to his condo. The minute he entered his room, a grin broke out when thinking of Tarn's demeanor under the influence of alcohol. Paya shook his head wearily.
Crazy asshole.
Drunk and nuts as hell, but it might be worse on his side to find Tarn was lovable. The next morning, Paya drove back home in Bangkok. As soon as the car stopped in front of a large iron gate, the gate suddenly opened. He pulled inside the garage, got out of the car, strode toward the middle-aged lady in her sweet floral clothes, and smooched a kiss on her cheek. They briefly greeted each other for a little while, and then brought themselves to their home.
There he is! Our brave man of steel.
Hai Yu, the eldest son, approached and gave Paya a hug before stepping aside from their little sister to share the same ritual. That one sexy skin! Harani joked with her brother. Paya laughed with joy.
Everyone's home today.
Because today, we know you're coming back. That's why we all agreed to stay home. Mom walked up to him with a smile and hugged him too. Paya beamed widely and was content to see everyone gathered up. Today, Mom prepared many of your favorite dishes, Harani said in a jealous tone. Mine was just a little,
I can't help it. Mom loves me more.
Paya said while puffing out his chest, which only intensified his sister's loathing. Unable to contain her frustration, she brought her palm to that tense chest until it produced a resonating snap. Oh my knee! The mother looked at her little girl viciously. Harani formed a sullen face and turned to snug on her big brother. No, Pipayo! Mom always takes Pipaya's side. She held her brother's arm and snuggled pleadingly. Hayu laughed and pushed his little sister out by her head. He pulled his arm back and moved to stand by Paya.
Not only mom, but me too.
Pio! Her niece stomped her feet in dissatisfaction. Everyone's bullying me! Their youngest sister grumbled, then rotated her heels to walk away, leaving her two brothers to share a good, amusing laugh until they got a complaint from their mother. You two, go patch things up with your sister, right now.
Yes.
The two boys responded in perfect synchrony, playfully exchanging high fives before heading over to the pool to make peace with their mischievous little sister at the poolside, her favorite spot to plop herself whenever she got moody. The tired mother observed them from behind, wondering what was up with the whole gang. Why were they always teasing each other? The young men, of almost the same height, walked up to the swimming pool and saw their little sister sitting on the bench with her arm crossed and a sullen face. The two brothers made eye contact on how to make it up to her. After the long, tentative nod, They came to the conclusion that Paya would make the first move. Paya perched himself to sit beside his sister, expressing his words with a heartwarming voice.
Please don't get mad at me. Meeting my sis once in a while, I just want to tease you a bit to ease how much I've been missing you.
Not only said it, but the amiable brother also reached out to enfold the sister's tiny figure at the same time.
Right. Please don't be mad. I'll buy you a limited edition bag of this season.
Caillou offered her a comforting gift. Tarani took a glance at her brothers, forced a chuckle in her throat, and averted to the other side. But soon enough, she failed to hide her beaming smile. Sensing their little sister's shoulders weren't as tense as earlier, the two brothers traded their smiles in relief, thinking someone like her couldn't hold a grudge for so long. Alright, I'm no longer mad. That was the limited edition bag. It couldn't be worth more than this. If she kept dwelling upon her grudge for too long, that dear bag definitely slipped through her hands. There she is. But please, buy me two of them. I'll give another one to Dao. It was for Dao's birthday in the next few days. Dao was her best friend, as well as how she expected Dao to be her sister-in-law. Talking about Dao, lately, V asked me about Vipaya from me too. Karani gave her brother a narrowed eye, trying to find fault. Paya stuttered before fabricating the naive facade.
Really? I didn't know that.
Ibayo! Karani pivoted to her biggest brother. Paya raised his hand to cover both lips. He wavered his hand around in denial.
I just realized that I didn't sleep well at all last night. I'll go to bed now.
After Paya said that, he abruptly strode away. Karani's mouth hung agape as she didn't even utter anything, but the big brother just flew away. She turned around to force the answer from her second brother, who was going to leave her side as well instead, grabbing his wrist in time and pulling him back to the bench. Ibaya!
Hmm?
Don't play dumb. I know you know things about V. I've told you to stop messing with her. Why don't you listen to me?
I'm not messing with her anymore. Really.
Aya stated in a firm voice. The reason he still had a picture of Vipawadi kept in his pocket was that he still cherished her as a sister. Plus, he had given her a promise, so he didn't want to break her will too much, as what he had done to her earlier broke her badly enough. Parani exhaled a long sigh, crossing her arms around herself. That's because of you fooling around with her. If you haven't, things wouldn't have become such a mess up until today. Vipaya might be a gentle, loving, and courteous nobleman in somebody else's eyes, but who would know, under that Prince Charming image, lie a lady predator in disguise? It might have been a hidden truth for everyone else, but Parani and Payu knew it all too well as she witnessed it with her own very eyes on the day she made a surprise visit to Paya in France. Hate to be the one who said this, but he did have a long list of love crimes. Kaya stretched out to pull her sister close until her round shoulder bumped against his chest.
Don't worry. I can handle Vipawadi's things.
I wish you would. If thou could sniff out your dirty little secret, you'll slide from hero to zero in her view. And you can say I didn't warn you. Kaya laughed.
I've gone completely zero for her for a long time.
Zarawa never had her eyes on him like the way he did on her. Only he had been dreaming about her on the one-way street, and it had been this way all along. Who told you that? That was fond of you as well.
If so, then why did she reject my engagement?
That's
Because she's not ready? Or is it about Vipawadi? If you'd like to keep on defending her, then please do. But for me, I'm waiting for her that it starts to wear me out.
He was profoundly infatuated with Darawan, and they even committed to becoming engaged. But one day she just came to tell him that she wasn't ready for it and wanted to indefinitely postpone their engagement. With her distinct, vacant eyes, and left him hanging on with mindless hope. Pipaya, this. Pipaya! Me! A mellow voice came in between their conversation, causing the brother and sister to turn around to see an oval-faced young girl walk up to them with a smile on her lips and a twinkle in her eyes. The two rose on their feet and greeted. Hello, Pipaya! Long time no see! Larawan made her greeting gesture and bloomed a sweet beam to Paya. Paya returned her greeting, unfolding a faint smile in response. Parani suppressed her troubled expression and displayed a smile to the one they had mentioned just now, as if the former conversation had never existed at all.
Dao, what brings you here? My mom told you about me.
Right, and we will drop in too. Vipawadi was Tarawan's cousin, so it wasn't a surprise that Vipawadi would also know that Paya had returned from the training as well. Parani cast a glance at her bestie and nodded in disdain once Darawan brought up Vipawadi's name. That bold, self-assertive body. She rolled her eyes toward her friend, then made eye contact with her brother, thinking that she should let the two mend their breakage alone in the hope that they could find their way to get together again. Dal, could you please stick around with him? Parani swiftly vanished herself right after finishing her words. Darawan could only puzzlingly watch her friend's back without even having a chance to hold her back, then shifted her gaze to Paya, her ex-fiancé, and offered him a thin, uneasy grin the moment that her pupils met those gleaming, piercing ones.
If you feel so uptight, you can follow me.
Darawan abruptly refused. No, I don't feel that way. Just didn't know how to act.
You're doing good?
Yes, I am, said Darawan with a face exuding contentment. Catching that expression swelled with delight, Haya could sense some bad sign.
You found that man?
The man who could make her happy from her true heart. Someone else who wasn't him. Darawan didn't answer but just rotated herself to another direction with Paya following close, trying to read that facade at the same time. As I've told you earlier, since we've known each other for a long time, sharing well wishes and supporting each other as friends for so long, it could be mistaken for love. I still stand firm for that. It's not because of the affair between you and V, but I really mean what I said.
You haven't answered my question yet.
Maya questioned, with a heart on fire. The man's frustrated voice paused in her tracks as she pivoted to Paya with apologetic sigh, his heart hollowed, looking at her in disbelief.
You did find him, didn't you?
The man asked in a vulnerable tone. Darawan nodded her head. Yes, it's Dr. Titch, Dr. Sokunticha Ruch, my grandmother's personal doctor. Maya's orbs rippled. He reached out for both of Darawan's hands and said in anxiety,
No, but I still
Ping! Came the notification sound from Paya's phone, interrupted. Darawan withdrew her hands back. Check out that message. It might be from your office. Since it nudges so frequently, it might be an urgent case. Darawan reminded him, so Paya dove into his pocket to get his phone to read the message. I've made an appointment for you and Wangpu already, on X at 9 a.m. I suggest you be here before the actual date, so you can be here on time, as Longpu is very strict on time. And I'm sorry for burdening you to care for me the day I was drunk. I might have done something whimsical to you. Please forgive me. See ya on X. Puppy sticker. Whose message? You're smirking now. Darawan remarked. Haya shook his head, turned off that message, and shoved it back into his pocket.
It's my colleague.
She gauged Paya's expression, the glint in his eyes, and that smile across his face. Her lips faintly curled upward. Pipaya, listen up. It's not because you're not good enough, or I despise you. It's just
That man is right for you more than me.
Darawan pursed her lips and tipped her head to admit. I'm sorry that I can't respond to your feelings,
No need to apologize. I understand. No matter what happens, you're always my little sister.
said Paya with a smile. His hand swayed Darawan's head endearingly, in contrast to the inside that bit the bullet hard on this pain. For me, he's not only the right one, but he's the one I've been waiting for, she narrated with a dreamy smile. Do you know, I felt as if I've been waiting for someone all my life. And the moment I met him, I could feel that it was him that I've been waiting for all these times. And I hope you'll find that one for yourself too. And for Dr. Titch, I'll introduce him to you later. Darawan felt the need to say it straight from the back of her mind like this, wishing it would help Haya get over her even faster. Haya gave a nod of comprehension to Darawan in bitterness. All he could do was to wish her all the best. He never imagined that during these 8 months they were apart, Darawan would make progress on her relationship with that man so soon that there was no room for him to tug himself anywhere in her heart anymore. I must be a dead end for him now, indeed. Nong Kai on X 2019. After healing the wounds of a broken heart for 1 month, Haya journeyed to Nong Khai on the date that Tarn had arranged for the appointment. Tarn brought him to the Wat Po Chai temple to meet Luang Pu as he had promised. Here we are, at this place. Let's get inside. Tarn swiveled and said to Paya. Paya dipped his head, took it off his shoes, and walked up the stairs after Tarn's lead. Tarn slowly walked on his knees to Luang Pu monk's cell, knocking on the door before opening it, then beckoning to Paya to let him in. So Paya was on his knees to get inside the way that Tarn did. After entering the monk's cell, they saw a Buddhist monk sitting in his meditation. Both of them paid homage 3 times and waited in silence until the pious one started his diction. Tarn, please go get some sack I left with John for me. Wang Pu, well, Wang Pu took a glance at Tarn. Tarn's expression turned downcast as he paid homage again to farewell and be off on his knees. He knew that Wang Pu would like to have a word with Paya in solitude. After Tarn left, Paya turned around to Wang Pu.
Good morning, venerable sir.
May you be blessed.
Today,
I know what's the trouble bringing you here. He presents himself to you due to the weave of karma he shares with you.
what karma, sir?
Now that Paya saw that the venerable monk didn't answer, he changed the question.
My dream becomes even more confusing, chaotic, and jumbled. I couldn't see through what he wanted to tell me.
Only mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom will help you to see the truth. But to be able to see the truth, you need to be concentrated and attentive. Could it imply that he needed to refine his concentration levels? But he still had one more question.
What I've seen from my previous lives, isn't it?
It's the cause of karma.
Cause of karma? It means that the naga who spits his venom on me is.
Wang Fu closed his eyes. What you've perceived might not reflect reality. You might have heard it, There is not only one truth. When you become attentive, you'll see it through, and it's up to your decision what to do afterward. End of chapter 6.